Hey everyone, I've got two LEGO Star Wars sets to look at here. On the left is Obi-Wan's hut, and that comes with one Tusken Raider, R2-D2, Old Ben, and young Luke. On the right and kind of in the back is the Luke Skywalker's Landspeeder set. Yes, yet another of those. And that includes the out-of-focus Jawa back here in the back. Ooh, teeny! One young Skywalker again, this time with Poncho, and C-3PO. So what I want to do is go through each of these sets fairly quickly, and then I'll come back and give you more of my personal thoughts and talk about value and stuff like that. So this is the Luke Skywalker's Landspeeder set. Yeah, we've gotten a bunch of these, including one fairly recently. And this is a new one with yet another strategy for building the speeder. This one has gone back to relatively flat sides around the front, around the nose, and they just use stickers for the main texturing detail, the kind of old 1950s, 1940s diner look around the edge there. And then they've used some of the most recent tile pieces, the curved tiles, to get some of the shaping up above. And they've completely changed up the engine build this time around, including using a spool on this side, a string spool. The top one is done a little bit more conventionally. They're using the astromech heads here in the flesh color, which is the same color that's used for the top and half of the speeder itself, which is, I think, a really cool color to use. And these assemblies look pretty good. And then this engine unit over here, the propulsion thrust engine, I should say, is the one that's in the best shape of the three. And again, they do rely on some stickers. How you align those stickers will matter when you're looking up this close about just how appropriate it looks, how accurate it looks, but ultimately it's mostly the ones on the sides up front that matter, I think, that you really need to get right. Let me just pull Luke out of here real quick so you see the basic details of the interior with the little steering wheel there, and then a nicely closely spaced control, center console with a control stick in there as well. So that works out pretty well. It looks nice and tight and tidy in there. The chairs, the seats are custom built. You can adjust the backrest backwards and forwards. We've got a single clip over here to hold on to a long weapon. This is a nice long rifle. There's a sticker beneath there to show you a little bit of extra detail as well. One other thing, this turns down and then you can open up a little spot in the back, which is a trunk, which can hold small things. They've got a set of binoculars in there, and that is that. And then there's also this small side build that gives you just a little bit of overhanging terrain from Tatooine, maybe along a little valley sort of feature, a dried out river or something like that. And it just creates a half of a cave for a single Jawa to hide in a little bit for doing an ambush. And there's also a clip right there so you can put the Jawa's weapon up against the wall like so. Got a little bit of dried foliage off to the side, and this shows you what the colors are actually, that are embedded into there. So that's that. There's not that much to see here. I'm just going to call this Poncho Luke for the sake of brevity. This is a printed fabric piece that has a different texture on the outside than it does on the inside. The inside is more like the new style of capes, the more flowy style of capes, but the outside texture is a little bit thicker and more rough and just more interesting, although it does sit very square on him as viewed from the front or the back. It does kind of sit properly, I'd say, as viewed from the side. Now, the print on this torso is pretty dang good. It actually doesn't look quite as good here in 4K, all zoomed in and everything, as it does in real life, but to the normal naked human eye, I think that this is pretty good production work. Got some gunmetal gray printing for the belt details, the little grommets, rivets, and the buckle there. So that's pretty good. The lines line up, and the skin tone right there at the neck is pretty good as well. And this has two faces on it. There's not a lot of difference between the two. I mean, this is just a slightly smiling of nothing. This is a slightly frowning of nothing kind of expression. So not a big difference, but both of them are usable at least. C-3PO is C-3PO, and this is consistently, thankfully, finally using the most modern of pearl gold color that LEGO has come up with. They did a change over the past couple of years from a slightly more orangish color to one that looks to me to be more properly gold. The printing work here is pretty good. There are no dual molded details. I guess one leg is a little bit, well, both legs are slightly offset to the right, but overall the production work on this one looks pretty good. No printing on the arm or anything, but that is that. It's 3PO. I mean, it's obviously very recognizable. I think the level of detail is pretty good. And last up, there's the Jawa, who has pretty good printing for the eyes. You know, there's a little extra depth that's printed in there, so it adds a little bit of suggestion of life and just depth in general. Too bad there's still no cape piece for these guys. One of these days, before I die, I would like there to be an official Lego vinyl cape Jawa. The true OG Star Wars collectors out there will know just what I'm talking about there. But for what it is, this is fine. I wouldn't mind, though, having just one extra little piece of cloth, at least. I'd love it to be vinyl just for once, but cloth would work, you know, just to add a little extra something. Here are the leftovers, including an extra silver-colored roller skate, so you can pair that up with the single piece that's used for greebling on the top of the Landspeeder, and you can do some skating around a dry lake bed on Tatooine. And then here's the Obi-Wan's hut set in one of its forms. So I just wanted to make sure you could see everything together. I'm going to take these figures away and focus on the main build. We'll come back to the figures. But let me just show you what this looks like from all different angles when it's fully closed up, because this can be opened up. But this is what it looks like by default here. So it's actually open on one side, even in its most closed up form. This is like the kitchen area over here, I think. And yeah, it would have been nice if that could have been closed up the rest of the way, but I'm assuming this is not showing the entire thing. This is actually the main entrance there, and it's partly blocked. Let me go ahead and open this up so you can see what you actually get inside, and also you can open up the top like so. So let me just pull that off entirely. Makes it a lot easier to see what's inside here. So this is actually pretty nicely detailed for how small it is. You got this off to the side, which has nothing in it, but you can store things if you want. More important is this case over here. We'll come back to that. Random things that are on the shelves. I haven't seen behind the scenes stuff of what this set actually looked like. There, you know, in the movie A New Hope, they don't show you too much of the background, but there's more stuff to be seen in behind the scenes footage and behind the scenes photographs, especially, that Lego designers had access to and that I haven't seen. I think you can see this in one of the scenes. He's got a gaffy stick actually on the wall back there. That's interesting. I did not expect that. This is useful. I'll show you why in a minute. That is an actual Leia projection, so they've not reused the pre-existing nanofig piece. That's a Leia specific one for that, which works really well in the translate blue. Got the blue milk over here. You know, got the white base color for a lot of furniture. It was a 1970s thing very much. And there's some sort of fuel burning stove. It's got a pot of some green stuff there. I'm assuming that's like split pea soup, but an alien form of it. So it's really nasty. And what is this? Just a little bit of fuzz. Anyway, that's that. I think it looks pretty cool with the little bit of fire coming out the front. But ultimately, you know, all this just goes together like this, and then you put the round dome piece over the top of it. But more useful for additional scenarios is what you get in here. So opening that up, find an old lightsaber and a piece. Get out. There we go. A piece that is used as a training droid. Now, what I can do is come over here to the wall, pull this frosted clear thing off, and pull this single stud, which is actually a hollow stud, off the wall. Put that on the top here. I can put this on top of that. Now I have a floating training droid, and that's what that's intended to be. That is printed well around two sides, and there's a little bit of wraparound to it. So it feels fairly consistent, almost like it's printed all the way around, even though it isn't. So that actually works pretty well. You can just place that anywhere. You know, it has a anti-stud base now, so I can literally put it anywhere. I can use the top of this, just place it in the middle of the room, and do some training with it. I could use that little platform there if I wanted. Got extra seating around, and you know, we've got spots to do stuff. Since the set is Obi-Wan's hut, Obi-Wan gets top billing amongst the figures in this one. No printing for the legs whatsoever. Not the best printing for the black lines, the black layer that went on to this one in particular. That's just a production thing that should vary, and some people will get more crisp lines for that. His lightsaber hilt is slightly mottled. It's not completely smooth. And then this one that I got does have a more frosted blade. Luke's blade also, formerly Anakin's blade, also has that same frosting to it, so at least I got some consistency there. And there's printing around the back, which is a nice design. And it's not done too badly, especially from a normal distance, but there's no alternate face for this head, and I believe the reason for that is that if they did have a secondary face, you would see some of it around the base of this hair. And that just would have been a worse possibility. Yeah, it definitely would have shown up quite a bit there. So this is what they had to do, going with just a single face, and I'm okay with that. Notice this is the same Luke as we just saw minutes ago in the other set, minus the poncho. All the prints are the same. It's got the same facial expression there as well, and he just has a set of macro binoculars, and that's it. So you've already seen this, and there's that alternate expression, which on this one in particular just happens to be offset to one side. That happens every once in a while. Fortunately, most of the time it doesn't really matter. It's just awkward. You see, it's a little bit more shifted to one side. Here's the single Tusken Raider with lots and lots of pouches on his, almost like a bandolier of pouches. I wonder what is in those pouches. Are they like trail mix packets or something? I mean, it's not like he has a firearm with him, so he's not going to have ammo in there, I don't think. Yeah, some of them have rifles, but I don't think this one does. I'm guessing trail mix or maybe bantha jerky. Finally, here's R2-D2, and because I am me, I have gotten yet another. This is number 563, wonky astromech head print for me. Yeah, see, it's low on this side, goes higher, 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 and there it's at its highest point, and it starts to go back down again. It looks really bad, especially from the back. How does this keep happening to me? I keep hearing of people that are like, I have never gotten one that isn't absolutely perfect. I think you're making this up. I think that you're getting knockoffs made. Well, I'm not getting knockoffs made. I just have the worst luck in the entire Lego collecting community world with astromech heads. This one has a little bit of a mistake also on the print right there. One thing that I did not mention the last time I brought up this exact figure in another set is that they actually changed the print again for R2-D2's head in particular. Subtle differences, but I thought it was fine before. I think it's still fine, except for the fact that I keep getting wonky ones that are all offset and falling off to one side. Anyway, here are the spare parts from the Obi-Wan's hut set, and there are a few cool things in there. Actually, I think this lightsaber hilt is a little bit better than the one that was on Obi-Wan himself, so I'm going to swap those out. Obi-Wan's hut is 200 pieces, which makes the $20 US price point just perfect. Except wait, it's not $20 US, is it? It's $30 US. Dang it, that was me being optimistic and hopeful. Well, in spite of what the price to part ratio may suggest, I think the value here actually isn't that bad, because if this was $20, I feel like it would be an absolute steal. Given the amount of complexity that's here, the volume of stuff you get, the level of detail included, the number of figures, including R2, and also the projection of Leia, this is a rather large piece that has extra value. That's a nice print there. Just generally, what is here is done well. It is still fairly small, but it doesn't need to be too big, in my opinion. It could have been a little bit larger, especially for this price, but I think 25 would be an ideal price for this. So, they are pushing it a little bit. Maybe that's completely subjective, but 30 is not outrageous. 20 is not reasonable to ask for. So overall, I think this works out okay. And there is a lot of good, useful, collectible, displayable stuff that you get here in general. Luke's Landspeeder is another $30 set. And though this has more pieces, I personally feel like this isn't quite as good of a deal. And part of that is because technically there's one less figure if you consider R2 to be a figure, which it kind of is. Actually, maybe the Jawa is like equivalent to an R2 figure in terms of its value, because it's smaller and more generic as well. So maybe this is like down a full figure. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. And it's just a land speeder. It holds a couple people. This little bit of terrain back here doesn't add that much value. It feels like filler to me. It's something, but it's not that useful. And ultimately, I mean, it's just a speeder. It could have been done a little bit smaller. The first Landspeeder was quite a bit smaller and was still fine. The new design is cool. There are some very interesting building techniques used with this, and they actually introduced a new color for one of these arch pieces. And now let me get into some of my more subjective personal thoughts, including pointing out some bad things, including one of these new gray colored arch pieces. Observe, if you will. So this piece under here, see, it's actually attached on the side. And look at the difference between those two pieces. They're supposed to be the same color. The one that I got is the wrong color. It's like light gray. Lighter than regular light gray. So that's not good. And because it's a new piece that has only been used in this one set, I did not have a spare to swap out. So I'm going to have to get a replacement for this. I will probably try the Lego part replacement service. I usually try to avoid that because it's just extra hassle, but I think I will do it this time, given that it is a rare new piece. Get this replaced, and then I'll have to swap out the sticker as well. But that's just a little quality control issue that I came across in this set. And then look here. So focusing right there, and then right there. Those are little bits of dark gray colored plastic, little bits of ABS, wayward bits that have been embedded into the otherwise tan colored material for this part. And this is the third piece that I've come across in the past week that had that issue, that had these little extra pellets. So something went wrong in one of the factories, and a bunch of wayward little bits of plastic, or it could be paint, but most likely plastic, have gotten into multiple colors. And, you know, it's just another small quality control issue that I think Lego collectors don't like to see, especially since we pay so much for high quality production from Lego. So when this stuff happens, it really stands out, I think. Between these two sets, I definitely prefer Obi-Wan's hut. I feel like it's more interesting, more collectible, just in general has more value. And, you know, we've gotten Landspeeders up to fairly recently. Maybe it's longer ago than I'm thinking. It might be a little bit close to it. But certainly Lego is pretty good about calculating when they need to get new products on shelves. And this is not being offered up as usual. I always have to explain this. This is not being offered up to folks who already have a recent and perfectly good Landspeeder model. This is just to have something. This is to have a Luke's Landspeeder model on shelves for folks who want to buy one. Especially and mostly folks who do not already have one, and they just do a redesign because they have the budget for it and they want to update things when they can. And sometimes designers just aren't happy with what they did before or what others did before them, or they have new parts available to them, they want to use them, and that just happens. For folks who don't want this, just don't buy it. It's pretty simple. That is a pretty good Luke, though. The poncho piece is nice, but overall I just feel like this is good stuff. All of it is good stuff. If it came with a Vaporator, that would have made it relatively perfect and also would have improved the value even more. So that's one thing that's missing here. Even just a basic version of one of those, a simple build, would have really finished this, I think. But all the stuff that is here is done pretty nicely, and yeah, it's pretty well packed in there with lots of details and usable stuff. So that's it for my look at these two. You can check out the builds for both of them. I've done the speed build and for both of them together in a single video, and I also have the real-time build on my Pure Builds channel, where you can still comment if you are age 13 or over. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you again very soon.